It reminds me of this meme I saw the other day. You go, Dan, why don't you ever attack Republicans? Well, the answer is, I'm punching right, baby. Tell the Democrats to stop standing there. It's not my problem they keep standing to the right. 100% spot on, right? It's a great line. And it's spot on. It's so true. Democrats should stop being an imperialist capitalist party helping to drive us all to catastrophic global climate change. Until they stop, that's why we'll keep like attacking or criticizing. I don't want to say like attack because people will think I'm like advocating violence. Not that I'm not. However, and of course, we on the left criticize Republicans. They're to our right. It's the fucking easiest thing in the world. They've got absolute shit for brains. Yes, Larry. The thing is, we on the left criticize Republicans all the fucking time. There isn't a single leftist, socialist, Marxist, etc., that doesn't criticize Republicans explicitly or like implicitly, right? Almost every day. Like, we're doing it every day. This is such a fucking lazy argument. Why don't you attack them? Really, it's I wish you would stop attacking the people that I support, isn't it? They're like expecting this wild percentage of coverage, but they never define what their percentage of coverage is. You're actually not wrong. So what these like Democrat supporting liberals don't understand about the left is that Democrats and Republicans and those to their right are all fair game to us on the left, especially because Democrats and Republicans are both imperialist, capitalist countries of the owning and ruling classes of the United States and sometimes abroad, but that's another discussion. In like a world of mass misery, okay? In the world of mass misery for most, at the cost of lavish extravagance for the exceptionally very few. And yes, this will require you to think about people in other countries, you guys. This is going to require a lot of you. Imperialism, capitalism, global climate change. We're having a mass extinction right now. These are our primary contradictions in the world that need to be resolved before we're fully able to address other contradictions in our world. And that's not to say that we shouldn't be trying to do many things at one time. Again, that's another discussion. In a world where we have the global hegemon, which is the United States, whose government is, I think it's fair to say, is irreconcilably captured by bloodthirsty capitalist and imperialist owning and ruling classes. And what do? They spread global misery. And they spread around 200 million easily preventable deaths each year. In a world like that, who wouldn't punch right? Exactly. They maintain genocide against First Nations via colonialism. People in other nations within your own country. Yeah, right? We argue with these fucks all the time. And there are places where they're on the left, they support imperialism. In my mind, they're not on the left, but I think you get me. The point is that, like, we're always punching to the right. We're always punching right. Those who support Democrats and Republicans who are upset with us punching right, what should they do? They should focus their energy telling the politicians they support to stop being an imperialist and capitalist party of the owning and ruling classes, driving us towards global climate crisis and a mass extinction, which becomes harder to prevent from getting worse every day. They're spreading widespread economic inequality. Why would we not punch right? These folks should spend that energy helping solve the biggest problems in our world. And what should they do? They should agitate. They should educate. They should organize. Instead of whining online about those on the left who are consistent with criticism, with our attacks. So yeah, we should be punching right. In this economy, then I sort of like wonder if this kind of person who would ask this question would ask us, well, why don't we punch left? They feel like it's their job to punch left. They're the smart one. They're the smart centrist. Oh, well, I punch left and right. Well, we don't punch left because when someone is on the left, you don't punch them. You don't punch your comrades. You don't get into fights over who's more left than the other. When someone's a comrade, other comrades are much more able to discuss ideas in like a productive manner, because we on the left don't get bogged down with stupid arguments. Who's more left? Rather, who's more correct? Doesn't that matter? Whose analysis is based on dialectical materialism? Whose isn't? Whose analysis is based in praxis and theory, and whose is idealist and based off of metaphysical analysis? Right? Determining who's right is obviously a case-by-case basis thing. And that's where having a comprehensive philosophical and scientific worldview of reality comes in. That's where it comes in. That's why it comes in handy. That's why we talk about Diamat. That's why we talk about Histmat. It's scientific socialism, you guys. That's where Marxism, Leninism, science, and that cycle of practice and theory comes in. I mean, capitalists can and do everything, almost everything in their power to prevent revolution. Revolution, which is explicitly needed in like most of the world. And that includes them having the wealth necessary to capture and control the Democrat and the Republican parties, the Supreme Court, the presidency, and by extension, military-industrial complex, the deep state, that's the national security alphabet guys, local police, and most aspects of your professional and personal lives. That sounds like authoritarianism to me. That sounds like totalitarianism to me. You know, in a country with a capitalist economy, the capitalist has no incentive to do anything for the working class beyond keeping the conditions ripe for cheap labor to be exploited by them, the owning and ruling classes. And then you do have these countries, right? I'm already hearing but Dan, what about the Nordic countries? It's like, well, there's a bunch of Nazis, so we got to figure that out. But for some of these countries with like strong, quote unquote, human rights domestically, this is, feel free to correct me, without exception, achieved via exploitation of human rights abroad, via imperialism. For instance, the Netherlands, right? They've got great public infrastructure, and I like to watch Not Just Bikes. I'm like, oh, that's really cool, right? How do they achieve that? It's achieved via their historic participation in colonial and imperial ventures, including, still today, exemplified by their participation in NATO. That's an unquestionably imperialist global military organization. So for me, I'm going to keep punching right. Which side are you on, you know? That too, Larry. It was like a year and a half ago, I had to take down my Bernie Sanders sign. I'm like, well, guess I'm done with this. Guess I've moved on. I don't know. I don't know if it was during that rant or before, but I lost a follower. What am I going to do?
Goodbye.